Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all the people joining from different parts of the world. I'm Deepak Singh, President and CEO of Gorisco Solutions. The motto of Gorisco Solution is embedding resilience, and this topic that I'm going to take is also about resilience. Um, we started with business continuity, and then we started hearing the word called resilience. Now it is not just about those operations, but then it's getting into the cyber world as well, right? So that's why I thought that maybe it would be interesting for me to take up this topic and then sort of present it to all of you. So the topic is building cyber resilience for a hybrid work culture. And I think everyone knows why we have taken this topic, why this cyber resilience has suddenly become so important for us. Let's look at that. I mean, earlier we heard about it. Yes, we talked about cybersecurity and all, but now it has become more important because of this year 2020, right? Because this is the year where we saw a lot of hacks, the breaches, and the number of attacks that has happened on the organizations, even on the personal, right? So these are the things that actually happened because of what happened in March of 2020, when suddenly, we all started working from home, and then there were issues with related to COVID-19, and that's where there were a lot of opportunities which the hackers and that's attackers started utilizing, right? So that's why the topic of cyber resilience is actually gaining more importance in last 2 years that we have seen. And there were number of issues in last 2 years, but let's talk about 2020. Some of the important metrics I thought that I would share with you. These are facts. 358% increase. So we were talking about malware, no doubt about it. But in 2020 compared to 2019, the increase was about 358%, which is huge. 435% in ransomware attack. Ransomware again, about 450%, 435% that you see on the screen. And this is why we are talking about, the importance that it has taken over last 2 years compared to all the previous years is significant, and we cannot ignore it. The average cost of data breach, right, that went to almost like 4.24 million. 4.25 million average cost of data breach is not a small amount, right? And we all realize that. Google itself said that every day when the COVID started gaining pace, and then there were a lot of information which people started looking on the website, Googling and all. When Google did an analysis, it found that almost like 18 million scams per day, they were actually blocking it, right? Per day. I'm talking about every day. If you compare the cost of the data breach for organizations which had hybrid work culture, right? Because COVID forced all of us into that situation. It was not that we were fully prepared and then we said that, yes, we are ready to work from home. It was not that. The situation actually has thrown all of us into that work from home environment, right? We were not prepared, absolutely not prepared. And though organizations said that, yes, we are good to go and all, no doubt that there were enough gaps which actually people started realizing once things started getting into really bad shape, I would say. And that's why today you see a lot of companies have started calling their employees back. Yes, there are other issues as well, but I think one of the important issue is related to the security, the information security, the cyber security. So 1.07 million higher was the cost of organizations for the data breach when you have people working from home versus when you do not have people working from home, right? And that's again a significant number which organizations realized. 60% increase in average ransom payment. So people actually had to make the payments, and that payment, the amount that was paid to the ransomware or the attackers, those were about 60% higher than compared to earlier time. And these are the numbers which actually you can see the importance that it has gained in last 2 years was because of multi dimensions that you see on the screen. These data are based on the actuals. These are not something that has come up just from someone's mind, right? And this is where people started realizing, organizations started realizing that, okay, is it worth that we continue to work from home? Is remote working safe enough? Yes, there are ifs and buts, but then we'll look at a couple of those aspects in the upcoming slide. Okay, so if I come to the statistics, you can see the data breach statistics on the screen, right? And compared to the company system category or the company employees category, third party or criminals, you can see the most number of data breaches actually falls in this, where companies employees are the target, or they are the people who actually get compromised with the situation. And that's why we need to be more worried, right? And this has actually increased more because of the remote working, right? There are many other reasons, talking about the systems of the organization or even third party, right? Some of these are related to third party, and then also about the criminals. So people who are sitting there targeting you and then waiting for you to do something wrong, and that's it, you got caught. Some of the other statistics related to the cyber crimes. So you can see there are two graphs. One is in blue color and one is in the green one. Green one are actually cyber dependent and the blue one are cyber enabled. Now, what is the difference between these two? Cyber dependent means to do that you are actually dependent on the IT systems, the laptops, the IT network and all that thing. Cyber enabled means these crimes actually do not need mandatorily for you to be dependent on the computers or technology, but then if you get into these, if technology is utilized, it can be exploited further, right? It can be magnified. The amount, for example, if you are doing at 20% level earlier, now because you have technology, right, it is enabling you to actually go to from 20 to maybe 60%. That is what is cyber enabled. And cyber dependent is purely if you do not have the technology, the computer, the laptop and all, then you cannot do that, right? So you can see some of these metrics or data related to what happened with phishing, how much is the farming related thing, financial fraud. So of course phishing and malware, they take the highest count there or percentage there, right? Almost like 47% of people actually were found to be susceptible to these type of attacks, phishing attacks especially, right? And that was more because of a couple of other reasons we'll see on the upcoming slides. Now, what are the major contributing factors? So we saw a lot of information, the data which we showed on the previous slides, but what were the major contributing factors? Work from anywhere. I mean, when we had to work from home, it was easy for us, but you can understand the security around the network that we have at home versus what we had in office. It's totally different, right? So when you are in office, you do not worry because the system is there, the network is what do you say, protected by the IT guys. They prepare everything and ensure that all the security related things are in place. But at home, open indefinite access by VPNs. So what happens is most of the VPNs, how they behave is once you log in, once the users log in, they continue to provide indefinite access, right? It's not that they throw you out after some time and then you have to log in again. That doesn't happen. And that's it. That is another reason why this came into, the issues came as so big. Tiredness and fatigue. I mean, with work from home, people thought that it is flexible and all those things, but actually the fact is people started working more number of hours, right? And without any predefined schedule, right? It might be 4 a.m., it might be 4 p.m., it might be 10 p.m., right? You never know. And that resulted in a lot of fatigue. And how does it contribute then? When you are tired or there is fatigue, then you do not have that power of thinking rationally. So sometimes you just take it carelessly. Okay, this has come, let me just click and open it, right? That is the reason. So there is some amount of diversion that happens, and that is a result of tiredness or fatigue. Lack of attention due to surroundings. If I'm at office, I know this is office place, we need to be professionally prepared, sit there, you have some discipline in the office, right? Of course, you can be casual, but it doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want in the office, right? But at home it is not like that. A lot of people actually had started working in cafes also, right? So if there is something at home, I take my laptop, go and sit in a cafe and then start working from there. So there is a lot of disturbance in the surroundings or the environment where they are working, and that's why sometimes there is a lack of attention. So you might be listening to something else and then something comes on the screen and then you just try to click and then see it, right? Those are one of the other factors. The last one, you can consider it as a matrix, but then how does it become a contributing factor? If you say that the organizations where, you can see with people working remotely, organizations actually took 58 days longer to identify the breach. Now, the breach started, and then for next 58 days, you are not at all aware that something wrong has happened. That means these 58 days you have been actually being exploited, right? The data has been passed, data has been stolen from your systems, and by the time you realize it, it's almost 2 months now. That is why you might see the increase in the cyber attacks and the information or the data breach that you have actually gone through. Now the question is why? Why do we see all this? Are we seeing that cybersecurity is really something that is mandatory to the organization? We thought so, but the moment COVID came into picture and people had to work from home, everything went for toss. So it actually became just a liability. I will do everything else. When I find time, I'll take care of my security. That was the situation where we have been thrown into, right? Rather than saying that, okay, let me first analyze, prepare myself, and then see whether we are good from cybersecurity perspective. That was a good opportunity, or that was a good process. That was a good approach, but the time didn't allow us, right? Even today, a lot of organizations know that there are gaps, but maybe they don't have any other option, right? So we should be careful that the security that we have been talking about, importance of security, this X, Y, Z, that should not just become like a liability for you. It has to be precedented. I mean, you have to ensure that it is the topmost priority for the organization, and you need to ensure that you are adhering to that, whatever be the case, right? And I'm sure that, with the COVID situation, a lot of organizations have learned that. So hopefully for the next event, unfortunate event, if something like that happens, they would be much more prepared than what they were in last 2 years. Okay, let's go to next. There is something called rational choice theory. And this is very important because we need to understand from, what happens actually. So there are information of data which is available into the environment, into the world, with people, with systems. But then how do you use that information? There are two ways. One is there might be some interest of you using that information for something. Second is you think that because of this being available, I might have some opportunity, right? A new opportunity which you have not thought earlier, but now you see that there is something available, so let me take it as an opportunity. Once you have these two, any of these two, you utilize that information and then you make decision to perform a particular action, right? When you try to make the action and you think that, okay, I will do this because the background is so and so, so I have this information, I have that information, so looks like this is how it should work, and based on that you take a decision saying that, okay, let's go ahead and then do this. Now that action, from your perspective, yes, it's rational, right? All these things are, rational decisions. But then the outcomes that you had expected because of that action might not be exactly the same, because there is a environment factor which is playing into. So you thought something, but there is a third party or, third dimension which gets injected, which is called as environment. There might be something else that has changed in the environment, and hence your action actually did not result in the particular result, right? The outcome is slightly different. You need to be careful there. And for example, in case of what happened with COVID, in COVID time, we as people, what information we had information like, okay, there's going to be a lockdown and then people will not be available, so let's try to, ensure that the information which we get from the website, from our government portal or WHO site, right? A lot of people actually started going to websites which they have never heard of, right? In other cases, they might have avoided that, but because it is related to the safety and health of their loved ones, people started thinking that, okay, maybe this is good information, so let me go ahead and find it out. right? So that is where they start looking at information. What would be their interest? If I'm an employee, my interest is how to save my family, how to save myself, how to ensure that I have the daily needs, right? All those things are something that will be my interest. And based on that, I'll try to take a decision. Maybe I'll start ordering, what do you say, online. There are a lot of online related orders that have increased, right? Even your daily needs, a lot of shops actually went into online mode. So when you perform that actions, you actually started doing a lot of office related work from your mobile itself. This happened, right? You started utilizing your mobile personal devices also for office related work. There are a lot of files that started getting shared on the WhatsApp. At that point of time, there was something with WhatsApp, with Telegram and Signal, all those things. But yes, there are a lot of information which is official information which people started utilizing in their personal devices on the personal platforms as well. Now all these, so these are the actions from me as an individual. Now what happened at the other side? The hackers, the attackers are carefully watching what's happening. How is the behavior of people going to change? Now they know that there are people who are going and touching some sites which are not reliable, which they are going, trying to find out some more information about what is happening with the COVID, what are the number of deaths versus number of positive cases and all. Right? That's where they found out that for them, the information, the actions of the users became the information for the cyber attackers. And with that information, because we know what is their interest, right? Get money, utilize this opportunity. When they know that people have started being little careless about where they're going, what they're visiting, utilizing personal devices for the office related files and all, they started taking that as an advantage, and that's where they started attacking you, right? So remember that the action from one of these, maybe your organization's actions, your people or employees actions, these might be information for attackers or hackers, right? So all these things are related. So be careful when you start thinking about a particular action to be taken. Try to understand properly what are the other implications that could happen because of this decision, because most of the times you think about this but you do not take care of this. So for user, the environment is someone like hackers or attackers sitting there and then watching what's happening, and then they might do something which changes your outcomes. Okay, so this is what I wanted to explain from rational choice theory. This is a slide which I thought that may be useful for you, right? Where they have given some examples around what do you mean by information, interest, and all. So, once you have this slide, you can actually go through that. Future of hybrid work culture. There's a lot of debate happening on this topic, right? Are we really going to be working from home for a continuous period of time, unlimited period of time, for all the time in future, or we will be called to office, or it will be 50-50? Lot of discussions. But what is actually going to come? Because organizations, they know that they cannot negate a possibility of another situation like this, another situation which could create a similar impact, where almost your whole workforce is not available. They are not physically available at your office. So what do you do? Right? So from the future perspective, yes, employees have started going to office, but they are not going for, that's not going to be forever. The threat is looming around always. That we all know. Even today, there are positive cases. There are, a couple of deaths which are reported, unfortunately. But yes, that is still there. So we are not saying that, yes, it's out. We see that a lot of people have stopped using masks and all, right? But the threat is still there. So be careful there. Most companies will continue to work in a hybrid or flex model. We all know that, and that's happening, right? People might say that, okay, we have been called, but it's only 1 day a week, or maybe 3 days a week, or maybe all 5 days a week, right? It depends. So that percentage depends. Organizations cannot discount the possibility of yet another situation. This is what I was talking about, right? So you need to understand that the future is not going to be back to what it was in 2019, where organization used to say, no, work from home is not possible for my environment. For my type of business operations, it is not possible, right? COVID has taught us that anything is possible. but you need to be thrown into that situation. So there are a couple of long-term strategies post-COVID which organizations have decided. 50-50 model, 1 to 3 days a week, 100% work from home. Yes, there are some companies who have announced that, but yes, I'm not sure whether that is going to change after 1 year or 2 years. At this point of time, they say 100% work from home. Role dependent. Sometimes people know that, for example, there are manufacturing industries and there are companies which are dependent on lab equipment and heavy machineries and all. For them, they cannot work from home. They will have to be on site, right? But for the same organization, the people who are more into managerial roles and all, and people who are looking at project management, maybe for them it is okay. So companies actually have defined role dependent work from home model as well. And then some companies are 100% flexible. You want to come to office, work from home, work from home. So there is a trust which is built in already, and that is what they are going to follow, right? There could be a couple of other strategies as well, but these are the prominent ones which I thought I'll share with you. So what do we do? Let's be 100% secure. Possible? Not possible. We all know that. Like we say, you cannot be 100% compliance at all point of time. Today you are 100% compliant. Tomorrow you might not be, because you never know what is tomorrow coming with. That's what the case with cybersecurity as well. So when you say let's be 100% secure, maybe it's a myth. So what do? We know that 100% security is not possible. At least be 100% prepared. That is what is important. That is what the message that you should take back, right? Now, how do we do that? Cyber resilience. That's where this comes into picture. Now, resilience, we know, right? The capability to withstand and adapt based on the situations, and then jump back as soon as possible to normal situation. Now, if you see bottom, there are three things that we are talking about, or three pillars rather. To build cyber resilience, the first thing is accept the fact. Don't be in a denial mode saying that no, we have all the solutions in place, we have all the systems in place, everyone is trained, so nobody will click here, nobody will click there. You never know. Tomorrow, if there is a phishing email which says that okay, these many discount coupons are being given, your people might click. Not everyone, but yes, some of them might click, right? So even if you have the best technologies in the world, accept the fact that you could be attacked at some point of time, right? And that means the moment you accept that fact, that's when you need to be awake. You cannot sleep or just fold hands and say that okay, this is it, I'm done. It should not be that way, right? So accept that the cyber attack can happen at any point of time. Well equip yourself. When I say yourself, means yes, as an individual yourself, as an organization as well. Well equipped with tools, technologies, and people. You cannot do without people, right? Most of the time, all these attackers, they target your people only. Be prepared. The third pillar is be prepared to lose some valuable data. If you tell this to the CEO, he will not be happy. Are you saying that we'll lose data? Try your best not to. Try your best to ensure that you do not lose any data. But be prepared, because everything is not in your control. The attackers are 10 steps ahead of you, right? So we have to be prepared from that perspective. Okay, so have that thought process that we will try our best to ensure that there is no loss of data. But then it is possible. You might lose some data. Now, there are four things that I wanted to talk from the preparation perspective. The first one is about what you should do when everything is normal. Like we say in business continuity, during BAU, what should you do? This is what it is, right? Prepare yourself. Prepare through training. Now remember, with work from home or hybrid culture, it's not just about awareness, saying that you have these 10 slides, send it to people. People should just read it out, maybe 4 or 5 questions. Yes, done. No, that strategy won't work now. Now, with the amount of risk that you have and the extent of people working remotely, you have to ensure that proper training has to be given to each and every person who is working remotely. Training, not awareness, right? Get into little details. Tell them exactly what is happening and why it will happen and why you are the target, right? So an extensive training has to be prepared for that, right? Don't just sit on awareness that we used to do before 2020, 2019 and before that, right? Prevention, controls, whatever you could do to prevent and control, do that. And then responses. Ultimately, because we said that accept the fact that you might be attacked. So have a proper response plan in place. Ensure that the responses are built properly. Communication, very important, right? We talk about business continuity communication and then crisis management communication. Similarly, in case of cyber attacks, for cyber resilience to be built, you need to ensure that your communication strategy is very strong. You need to have that speed and agility to respond to situations. So without proper communication flowing through the channels, appropriate channels, it won't work, right? To get that speed and agility, you have to ensure a proper communication channel with internal as well as external parties, right? That is important. Handle reputation damage. Yeah, we know a lot of examples where because of communication issues, there has been a good amount of damage to the reputation, right? So be clear about that. I mean, don't assume that it will be just within your organization if something happens. We have seen, I mean, when there was an outage last year with Facebook and all, right? That's when people started realizing, I mean, earlier also there were cases, but think about this. I mean, companies like this, they have all the resources, they have huge amount of money to build anything. And if their systems could go down to that extent, to that duration, then think about other companies, right? So we have to be ensuring that the damage to the reputation is not happening. R&R, we used to talk about R&R, roles and responsibilities. With business continuity especially, it's no longer R&R, it is RRA, roles, responsibilities, and authorities. So ensure that when you define your cyber resilience plan, you need to define proper roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Ensure that your people understand what they need to do, what they need to follow. Legal and regulatory. When you have cyber attacks, you might get into a legal and regulatory issues most of the time, right? Uh, there are companies who have a lot of customer related data and there is a hack and data gets breached and you see that 5 million customer data or data loss related to 5 million of customers has been gone, right? So what do you do then? So you might have some issues like lawsuits and all filed on you. So be clear, understand what are your liabilities with respect to the services that you are providing or products that you are bringing into the market, and then be prepared how you are going to protect into getting into something like that, getting into a legal and regulatory issues, right? So that is another aspect which you need to be prepared for. So building a cyber resilience structure or strategy, ensure that all of these four pillars are taken care. That is what we'll call it as cyber resilience, four pillars. So shall we deploy all the security tools that we have in the world? Of course, what is applicable to you, but is that good enough? Maybe, but be careful. Why do I say that? Buying all security tools doesn't guarantee you cyber resilience. We all know that, right? That's a fact. It will not guarantee that you, because you have all the best technologies in the world, you have implemented them and that's why you have cyber resilience. It's not that. Why? Because the more technology, devices, and systems you have in place, there are more chances of loopholes, risks, and costs. Right? So you might say, okay, I have this, and now I found that there are loopholes or risks. So I need to build something to protect that. Now to protect that, you will again go back and then try to find out the technology which you will want to deploy it. And then if you have that attack again, you might be thinking what I have to do now. What should I do now? I put everything. That's why there has to be a clear balance between what you are going to deploy and how it is going to help you, right? So don't just go, because I've seen some of the customers, the moment they hear a new technology, they are very interested because they have all kinds of money, so they are very interested. Okay, let us deploy this, without actually realizing what is the game that they are getting into, right? So be careful. That's why we are saying be careful. Be careful, balance your priorities, and balance what you are going to have for controlling of your cyber attacks or making your organization resilient on cyber security. Okay, let's move. Now, there is something called universal raw law of security decay, right? You can see here, the guy is thinking everything that was there, I had already put in place, but still I've got this. What do I do now? Yes, that will happen. That's where this concept of security decay comes into picture. What is that? That is because of the advancements that keeps happening. So I've listed 5 advancements. Advancement in technologies. You have purchased something last year. This year there is a new technology that has come up, so that has become obsolete. So you need to do something to ensure that it is upgraded and it is still relevant. Advancement of cyber threats, the number of attacks that you have, the number of people targeting you, the number of systems that you have now, right? So the threat and the landscape is increasing continuously. So that advancement is also leading to a concept of security decay. What you had yesterday might not be working today, right? Advancement of knowledge and skills. Here I'm not talking about the knowledge and skills of your security experts within the organization. This is about knowledge and skills of the hackers, the attackers, right? They know that that is their bread and butter. Only if I attack, I make money. There is a motive behind that, right? There is a motive that they also found during the Russia-Ukraine war, right? You could see so many cyber attacks happening here and there. So there is a motive behind that, and that's their, that is what I need to do. That's it, right? To do that, they ensure that their knowledge and skills they keep on upgrading, right? And hence we say that they are 10 steps ahead of us always. Innovations. When they attack something, they find that okay, maybe this didn't work. So there has to be a new way of attack, right? Think about the COVID situation. They took it as an opportunity because they started understanding the pattern, the new pattern that people are following now. And then they get into innovative ideas. We used to hear that, initially when this OTP scam, bank scam started, the methodology or the approach was a little different. But slowly when they started realizing that okay, people have understood that okay, this is how they might come to me, and then this is how I can avoid. Now they are taking a different turn, right? So that's what I'm talking from the advancement of innovations. Complacencies. This is our fault. We need to be careful. We do not say that okay, last 2 years nothing has happened since I have deployed this particular solution, and so it's okay. Again, you fold your hands and keep quiet. It won't work. Don't be complacent, because at the worst point of time, at the worst time where you don't want anything to go bad, that's when this will go bad, right? That's what is Murphy's law. So be prepared, because you never know this will happen. So don't think that okay, now everything is fine and be complacent. Be prepared always. You need to ensure that your security posture, the infrastructure, the perimeter, the internal security aspects, the strength of the awareness training and all these things you need to keep on tweaking, modifying, improving, so that you are still relevant and secure. Okay. Building cyber resilience the PPT way. Yes, this PPT is not this PPT, but the people process technology, you know about that. People. What do we look from the people perspective? How do we build that? Engage employees in mandatory security trainings and tools. Trainings, not awareness. Again, I'm emphasizing, if you really want to ensure that your work from home or hybrid work culture is going to be successful, ensure that you do proper trainings. Don't just stop with awareness. Let them know how it will impact the business. What are the tools that they have to use, and how does this tool work? so that they understand what has to be done with the tool and what should not be done with the tool, right? Whenever you plan for the exercises or test, ensure that people participate without any, gap. People should not take it lightly. Like when we have this fire alarms, the moment people know that, okay, it's a drill, I want to get up from my chair, I'll sit there. Okay. Yeah, there will be a couple of people who will come and call me. I'll see at that point of time, right? Not like that. So ensure that proper drills are there. And then incident response. The moment attack happens, what is the response? How do we respond? That has to be practiced. Encourage security consciousness. Now, what is consciousness? I have been trained by the organization saying that these are the things that you should be careful about, and these are the tools, this is how you use, these are do's, don'ts, and all that thing is fine. But slowly with that culture, like we call in BCM, the DNA has to be changed, the culture has to be changed. This is about that. Ensure that your consciousness or the subconscious mind always talks from a security perspective. Anything that you see fishy, anything that you think it's a little different than what I used to hear or see earlier, you should be very careful, right? That is what we are talking from a consciousness perspective, right? And this will automatically get into your brain once you start having trainings and you have more sort of knowledge about how things can go wrong with respect to cybersecurity. Processes, zero trust architecture has to be deployed. You have a system like single sign-on, right? Once I log in, then anything I open, I need not write any or type any passwords and all. Is it really helpful? Maybe yes, but with hybrid work, you need to rethink again. So maybe you should say that, okay, now that work from home and remote work is getting into picture, let's ensure that anytime I touch any of my systems of the organization, I need to enter the password or some other way of ensuring that I'm authenticating that yes, I am the real person, right? That has to be the architecture. Multi-factor authentication, yes, we know that. You have email and then you have OTP on the mobile, and there may be another way of authentication. So unless you do all the three, you will not get into the system. Implementing assessment strategies. Whatever you have done, try to understand how well it is. If there are any gaps or opportunities for improvement, ensure that you do that and ensure that you are continuously evaluating that. Focus on endpoints always, right? Because that's one of the weakest links that we have in the organization. So ensure that your whole focus from the process perspective is strengthen the endpoints that you have in the organization. The last is not the least, technology. Technology related things, I think we have heard a lot about it, right? Adopt technologies that is secure by design. It's not that you build a technology and then later you thought that, okay, there are issues with this, and then you start sort of, putting like a bandage, start releasing patches, this, that, and all. That's not the right way, and it won't hold, for good time. You need to ensure that whatever you are building, when right from scratch, when you are designing the whole thing, ensure that you are designing with the concept of security and resilience. Stay up to date on security patches and improvements. We know that. Build or use the plug and play security tools. So if I have a solution saying that, okay, this solution, if I'm in office, it works fine. If I'm at home, it's of no use. Then that is not a good solution for you. You need to ensure that wherever you go, just ensure that that is installed on your laptop and it works wherever you want it to work, right? So plug and play, whenever it is required, you ensure that you have that. Now there is artificial intelligence. A simple concept of anomaly detection, right? Because if you see the first line, it talks about organizations who have actually used the AI. They were actually having lower data breach cost. So if an organization without the artificial intelligence usage was spending about 6.71 million, these organizations who had this artificial intelligence in place, they actually were spending only 2.9 million, less than even half, right? So simple concepts like anomaly detection, where you find that, okay, what happened? Why today this user is trying to log in multiple times? Why this system is sending so many error logs today? Something wrong is there. A simple things like that, you need not have any person for that. You just build logic. You ensure that the AI solution is there. It will pick up all those things, and that it will ensure that it will give you a good information, or meaningful information, based on which you can take the decision, or you can ask the tool itself to take a decision. So you can define saying that, okay, if there is so many number of attempts, you just disable that user for, let's say, 2 hours or 4 hours or maybe 24 hours. All that thing can be done automatically. You need not have someone manually to do that. Okay, so be clear. The opportunities using AI is good, right? Wherever you can build logic like that and ensure that the protection kicks in automatically without you waiting for analyzing the data and then trying to get into the system and then trying to do some configuration or settings. It should happen automatically, right? And that is the reason why today more and more organizations are actually going towards AI and automation. Measure your cyber resilience. There are a lot of things using what you can measure, but ultimately what it should boil down to: three things. One is cost of attack. What is cost of attack? When you spend a lot of budget on your cyber security, ultimately you should measure in a parameter called cost of attack, saying that by doing this, by investing this, how difficult am I making for the attackers and hackers to attack me? How much cost they need to invest to attack me, right? And I mean, cyber attack, I'm sure you are aware, it doesn't happen that I am a hacker, I just have a laptop and start and it's it. No, that's not it. There are tools, there are utilities, there are data from multiple sources, right? All that thing has to be bought, so someone has to invest on that. You need to invest your time on that, saying that, okay, let me analyze first how strong is this solution, right? You need to sit with people, you need to discuss, you need to build a team, saying that, okay, we are planning to attack this, okay, so let's discuss, right? So how difficult are you making for people to attack you is the first question. So your investment related to cybersecurity should get converted into a parameter where you find out, okay, with this investment, what is that I'm going to get from cost of attack perspective? What is that I'm going to get benefited on? Second one, mean time to remediation, right? Attack has happened. The first thing is how soon you can throw the guy out of your systems, out of your network, out of your infrastructure. Later, whatever damage has happened, take control of that. That's a separate exercise. But the first thing is, how do you ensure that that is stopped, the attack is stopped, the guy is thrown out of your premises, right? That is what is mean time to remediation. And this is again something that should be measured with respect to cyber resilience. If you're a resilient organization, this should be as less as possible. There is something called security stack analysis. So when you build the portfolio for cyber resilience, when you try to take multiple solutions, there are two things. One is old stack, like the traditional way of ensuring that you secure your organizational perimeters rather, right? So that someone cannot enter your organization, right? That used to be traditional way, saying that, yes, I am in a boundary and someone should not get inside this boundary, whatever be the case. Now that is not going to be enough. Now, what you need to ensure that even if someone gets into the boundary, how are we strong from within or inside that we will not allow that guy to take out anything from this? That is what is the combination of old and new stack that you see on the screen, right? That is what is security stack analysis. Do a proper analysis. Try to understand what all things you have from the old perspective and the new perspective, and then how well they gel together to provide a complete resilient structure for you, right? So try to measure even those. Okay, coming towards the end, key takeaways. What are the key takeaways that I would like you to go with? Cybersecurity is not a problem to be solved. Okay, some of you may not like if I say that. That is a fact, right? You know that you cannot solve this problem. With all the investments and people and technologies you have, you can make yourself protected for some point of time. But you cannot say that, yes, this solves my cybersecurity problem. It won't happen. right? So be in that right frame, saying that it's not a problem to be solved. It is an ongoing and ever advancing race. Yeah. Today you have come up with this, technology. Tomorrow there will be something else. Advanced version of the attacks might happen. And then there is a race. Whether you are more protected or someone else is more smarter, that they will attack you. They'll be successfully able to attack you. So attackers are evolving. So should you, that we know, right? But most of the times we fail to acknowledge that. You know that, but sometimes we fail to acknowledge that. Say that, okay, no, I have good systems. If you have good systems, your primary objective is this. Their primary objective is to ensure that they can attack as many systems and steal or take data from them. So you have to be very careful, because that's why we say they are 10 steps ahead of you. They are evolving. So unless you keep in pace with them, it's not going to help your organization, right? So then when they means the attackers, the hackers, people who want to sort of damage your organization, right? When they are offensive, the option for us is no longer to be defensive. We need to be resilient, right? And with that, I stop my slides. That's it. I wanted to, thank you so much to all of you for taking out time. I hope the session was useful for you and it gave some insights around the cyber resilience aspect. Yeah, it's a very important topic and very relevant topic in today's world, because whatever is happening, people need to understand that yes, work from home is not going anywhere. Hybrid work culture is going to remain, and hence the strength that you should have for cyber resilience is the most important thing. That is what is going to be saving your organization. The future is about cyber security related wars, which you can refrain or avoid from with with cyber resilience. Okay, thank you so much, and I'll open up to any questions.
Thank you, Deepak. Zoe says thank you. It was a very useful information, very useful session.
My pleasure.
Also, we've got a question from Rico. Given its highly technical nature, where do you see the role of business continuity professional with respect to cybersecurity or even information security without stepping on the toes of the IT people?
Yeah, very good. Great. So when we talk about resilience, that's one of the difference, right? We talk about business continuity and resilience. But the moment you come with resilience word, it's not just about business continuity, but from all the perspective. Now, today, when you talk about business continuity, you are implementing business continuity, right? In fact, currently we are actually working for a client, helping them to implement business continuity. But then there is another aspect where we have to take care of cyber resilience aspect for them, right? Because that's a regulation. So what do we do then? When you do the BIA and you try to identify that these are the IT infrastructure or IT applications or IT software related dependencies, the mandatory dependencies you have as per the BIA, then that becomes your focus. Saying that during business continuity, because these are the critical things from IT and technology perspective, we need to ensure that these are well protected, right? And that's one of the way where you can extract the information from the existing business continuity management exercise and then collaborate with the cybersecurity guys, IT guys, and help ensure that anything that is from a technology perspective a direct dependency on business for business, then you have to ensure that there is a proper security or resilience built around it, right? So that's a very good exercise and very good question, because a lot of times we try to understand what is our role. But yes, this is how you can help. You are into business continuity, take the information, sit with them, and then let them do their work, because they are as experts in their area and they'll be able to tell you better how to avoid these type of issues or threats. But your thing is you need to highlight what is important for the operations, what is that which is so critical that could impact your organizational activities or processes, and hence the brand image, reputation, financial impact, legal, regulatory, all that thing will come into place, right? So that is one of the way that I would suggest you to do that. Yes. Any other questions?
Thank you, Deepak. We can give people another couple of minutes to type in their questions. However,
Sure.
if people are not very comfortable writing them here, they are most welcome to contact you directly and with any questions or concerns they've got.
Yeah, sure. And you have my coordinates there. So I've given my mobile number and email ID as well. So if you want to sort of contact me, you're more than welcome. Please feel free. And again, so if you don't have any questions, I would like to thank you again. Thanks to BCI, first of all, for giving me this opportunity. Thanks, Gabriela and Marianne, for coordinating all these things. And thank you, all of you, for spending some time with me today. Thank you, and have a resilient world.
Thank you, Deepak. We've actually have one more question coming in, so we'll
Sure.
take this last question. So it says, hi, Deepak, you mentioned about cybersecurity drills. What kind of drills can be conducted?
Okay. So if you see, I'm not sure in your organization, but there are a lot of organizations which are actually planning some random exercises. Some are at a small level. For example, we try to ensure that we create a simulated email which will look like a phishing email, and then we start sending to employees. And we try to understand how are the employees going to react on that, right? But remember that this is actually not a phishing email. This is something that you have created so that you can get response about people's behavior. That is one way. I remember one of our clients, they actually got a issue where one fine day, I mean, this was just 1 month back, 1.5 months back. One fine day, they got an email from their CEO talking about something and then performing some action using that particular link. Now, when this, it was a surprise because usually people thought that, okay, I mean, usually the CEO doesn't send that. Fortunately, that organization doesn't have too many people, right? And a lot of people actually have realized that, okay, this is not what I used to get earlier, right? And they went back and then cross-checked with the cybersecurity team, and then CEO said that no, I have not sent any email like that. And then for almost like 2 weeks, the whole analysis went, and later they found that yes, it was a phishing email which was sent by a system outside, right? But the question is, how were they able to send with this name and with this email ID? All that thing is into place, and then now they have ensured that something like that will actually get blocked immediately, right? So there are a lot of things. That's why I say that whatever you have as security measures yesterday, it will start decaying very soon. So be clear that your things are always up to date, right? So that is something at a smaller level. Similarly, at a higher level, you can actually try to say that, okay, if I am dependent on things like SAP or any ERP system, then let's create a cybersecurity related scenario saying that, okay, I now ensure that I have hacked your system. SAP system is not available. Maybe you have some important information related to the customers and all, like your credit card information and all that has been hacked. And then what do you do now? So when we try to create a response plan, the cybersecurity response plan, out of that you try to say that if these are the responses that we have defined, try to utilize that and then see how well it works, right, in the actual scenario. So like we create exercise scenarios for the BCP, right, where we try to stop the operations. Here we are talking about hacking of the systems, trying to ensure that the information that you need at that point of time is not available to you. You are struggling with that. Then what is that you are going to do? How you will inform the IT team, how it will be escalated, how will the ticket be created, who will get involved, how will be the communication flow within the organization. All those aspects need to be thought about, and then plan, and then actually document it saying that yes, this is what has happened, right? So a lot of learnings you will get from that. Similarly, I mean, as I talked about this example, there could be other system or even infrastructure related thing saying that suddenly someone has hacked your Wi-Fi, so no one is able to connect to the Wi-Fi, or maybe you are connected to the Wi-Fi and then someone is stealing some information or data from that. So all those things could be possible scenarios for you to plan for the cyber resilience, strength. Does it help?
Thank you, Deepak. Yes, it does. Alistair has just said that thank you, Deepak. Really interesting and informative session. Definitely made me think again about what we are doing, and the need to revisit our controls whilst working from home.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's why I said, be on top of everything. Don't be complacent, because the things will happen at the worst point of time. We all know that, and we have faced that, right? Be prepared. That's the best you can do. So if your CEO says that, are we 100% secure? I'm not sure how you will answer, but you must say, yes, we are 100% prepared, right? That's a good answer. And that's good enough confidence that you can give to the top management. Yes.
Thank you, Deepak. There are no more questions in the question box. Thank you so much for today. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar, and thank you, Deepak, for a very informative session, as Anjana said. And thank you for taking part in the BCI Speako this
My
year.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your time. Have a good day, good night, good evening, whatever, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.